What's up, Rad Fam? Again, we're back with some conspiracy theories made by some really imaginative fans. A few videos ago, we covered some cartoon conspiracy theories, and in those, we covered a few SpongeBob ones. And apparently, there are a plethora more specifically about the SpongeBob franchise. So, since you guys suggested you wanted to see more in a video just devoted on SpongeBob theories, I was like, okay, let's do it then. So let's get to it. Oh my goodness. The first theory we're covering today is called SpongeBob and his friends are all on drugs. And honestly, I can see it. That is such a disgusting picture of SpongeBob. Ugh, I hate that picture. I hate it. It's so gross. It's so gross. Ugh. This picture is literal nightmare fuel. So if you don't think these conspiracy theories are enough to give this video a big thumbs up, hopefully this picture is enough to give you the nightmare fuel that you are searching for. SpongeBob, always bouncing off the wall, has a crazy imagination, loves blowing bubbles and catching jellyfish. He's clearly on some kind of hallucinogenic all the time, like shrooms or acid. Squidward, on the other hand, must be into heroin or another downer. He's super moody, avoids eye contact, and would rather play music than deal with people. Yeah, but that's just because he doesn't like people. There are certain scenes and episodes in the SpongeBob franchise that definitely make you question if there's some sort of chemical involved. But I feel like those descriptions right there, like for which drugs they're probably on, Squidward specifically, he's just like antisocial and doesn't like SpongeBob and like these people. So I don't really think Squidward's on heroin. But I mean, I could definitely see SpongeBob taking a little something something. Mr. Krabs and Mrs. Puff are the neurotic cocaine users who are super intense and on the edge. That's true. Mrs. Puff, but then she's supposed to be a pufferfish, so aren't they supposed to be like anxious? And like that's like her whole point. But regardless, I can kind of see it. One's constantly paranoid about his money, and the other cares about SpongeBob crashing her boat. Then of course there's Patrick, a classic stoner archetype if ever there was one. He's laid back, loves doing nothing, and constantly has the munchies. Of the characters, I think I could see Patrick the most being, like, this being most realistic for Patrick's character. I'm on the fence on this one. What do you guys think? Now, this next one is called Mr. Krabs is a Cannibal. And actually, a RadFam member sent me this one specifically that they wanted me to cover and was saying that there's just so much, like, detail and evidence to support this theory. So yeah, let's dive into this one. You know how Mr. Krabs has his formula for the Krabby Patty under lock and key? Well, there may be more to his reasoning than just trying to prevent Plankton from getting his dirty little hands on the recipe. In fact, the ingredients might actually be more of a problem than the fact that everyone's seemingly addicted to Krabby Patties in Bikini Bottom. One of the theories we covered a few videos ago in the cartoon conspiracy theories was that the secret ingredient of Krabby Patties was actually whale, and it was Pearl's mother, and that Mr. Krabs like kidnapped her, murdered the mom, and kidnapped Pearl to raise her, and then was gonna murder her too to make more Krabby Patties. It was a wild one. Definitely dark. So it's funny that there's so many conspiracy theories just on the secret ingredient. But I guess that makes sense because it's supposed to be a secret, so it piques your curiosities, you know? What if Krabby Patties were made from actual crabs? They're called Krabby Patties. That makes so much sense. I feel like that doesn't even need to be just like explained. Like it's in the name. How have I not ever considered that? The only other crab we ever see on the show are Mr. Krabs and his mother, with the occasional out-of-town crab. So where are the rest of them? In the patties. That makes so much sense. Oh my goodness. I never thought about how there's not any other crabs in the show. Whoa. Wow. Okay. Yep. That's disturbing. One Twitter user pointed out that every menu item has the key ingredient in the name. That makes Mr. Krabs a cannibal. Now we're just wondering what the Sailor Surprise is. Oh my god, what is that? You know, I always thought there was something a little weird about Mr. Krabs. There's more to his character than we're shown. So yeah, him being a serial killer and feeding the carcasses of his victims to the town to get addicted to makes a lot of sense. This next theory is called Squidward actually died in the SB-129 episode. Now this episode, if you will recall, if you've seen it, is just weird and trippy, and it's like the one with the meme from the future thing. Yeah, sorry, I had to act that out. That voice was disturbing, and I will hopefully never do that again in my life. Squidward has apparently been dead for nearly 19 years in our world, but at least according to a SpongeBob fan theory on Reddit. In an episode called SB-129 from the very first season of SpongeBob SquarePants, which, by the way, the first season is really weird to watch. It's so different, and the characters seem just not who they got altered into, which I guess is like the case for like almost every show ever, but it is a trip to go back and watch the first season. Squidward accidentally gets frozen for 2,000 years, finds a time machine, and gets transported to a place known only as Nowhere. Unfortunately, in the process of finding himself in Nowhere, the time machine malfunctions. Nowhere actually becomes somewhere, at least according to this theory. Okay, interested. Didn't really think about the timeline of these events before. A Redditor posts that Squidward actually died when the time machine went haywire, and that the Nowhere was purgatory, the waiting room of the afterlife. So in effect, the Squidward from the first season was replaced with another Squidward when he wishes for the time machine to take him back to his own time. It's almost the same concept for the transporters from Star Trek, which essentially destroys a person and then puts their energy pattern back together again. That is incredibly creepy. Oh my goodness, that is so creepy for especially the first season of a kid's show. Like, you think they'd be able to get away with that, like once there was like mass following and like adults, you know, started liking the show. But right from the get-go, that's dark. That's creepy. That's weird. And obviously I didn't catch that because I was a kid when I watched this. SpongeBob is dead or an amnesiac after season 3? Okay, how? How? In order to explain SpongeBob's personality change starting in the 4th season's okay, that is true. There is like a stark change in like a lot of characters. I didn't think it was the 4th season though. I thought it was like after the 1st season, but I guess they all kind of just meshed into my brain and into like one long weird memory. Fans propose that SpongeBob actually died for real in the SpongeBob SquarePants movie after he and Patrick dried up from being out of water for too long. Since sponges are asexual, SpongeBob could have made a new SpongeBob, which would explain why he was so ridiculously dumb from season 4 onwards. He was basically a child all over again. That just blew my mind. Okay, I see it. I get it. I'm picking up what you're putting down. That's some nightmare stuff. Hopefully no little kids found that out. This next fan theory suggests that Patrick is actually a sociopath. This interesting theory makes the case for Patrick Star being a sociopath rather than a bumbling idiot. It cites his tendencies toward violent, psychotic breaks as a symptom of his condition and claims that he is constantly manipulating his friends. Okay, let's dive into this one. Okay, we're going to skim through this one, though, because it is super long. First things first, in the title, I use the word sociopath for the reason. The reason I use sociopath is because I think Patrick has antisocial personality disorder, which means the person has a long-term pattern of manipulating, exploiting, or violating the rights of others. Let's take a closer look at Patrick to prove this accusation. I like how formal this is. His most defining characteristic is stupidity. Sure, there's a time where you could describe it as charming, and often it wasn't particularly destructive. The key thing here is manipulation is clearly mentioned in the definition of antisocial personality disorder. Someone with this disorder would manipulate people into believing they're harmless and that what they're doing has no malicious intent. That being said, maybe things are more questionable when Patrick becomes malicious, destructive, and cruel. I'm going to discuss a few examples. The episode starts with Patrick preparing for his parents coming over. He's worried because they think he's stupid, so SpongeBob offers to act stupid to make Patrick look better. I remember this episode. This episode was a little weird. It did seem out of character for Patrick to behave like this. This starts off okay, but eventually Patrick supposedly forgets, although could purposefully be ignoring, that SpongeBob is just acting. The levels of verbal abuse thrown at SpongeBob, Patrick's supposed best friend, aren't funny and are kind of uncomfortable to watch. SpongeBob eventually snaps and runs away, and some strange ending happens where these aren't Patrick's real parents. The important thing, however, is Patrick gets away with all his bullying towards SpongeBob, free of any consequences. That was really weird. He was really mean in that episode, and it was out of character. And at the time, he thought it was because he was nervous that his parents were coming over. But yeah, maybe he was manipulating the whole time. Okay, let's read one more example. There's one more example that I want to talk about. It's an episode called Karate Star. As the title suggests, Patrick learns karate and becomes an expert as he can karate chop through anything. Naturally, he nearly destroys the town. That is very true. That was a crazy thing that he was doing that. He walks over the pram with an infant inside, and if he had not been stopped by SpongeBob, would have murdered a baby. He nearly murdered a baby. I do not remember that scene. He almost murdered a baby? How was that okay? How was that put into an episode? It's for kids! Later on, he apparently feels guilty and it's supposed to be redeemable. I'll repeat, we're supposed to accept his redemption after he nearly murdered a baby. Wow. I never thought of that before. I don't even remember that scene. That is weird. That's evil. Whoa. Patrick isn't dumb. He's just evil. Okay, I think I'm kind of convinced on that one. The Krusty Krab has a ghost crew. We never see anyone else up working at the Krusty Krab when SpongeBob, Squidward, or Mr. Krabs aren't there, even though they're clearly open at least some of the time. That is interesting, because you do see SpongeBob and Squidward together, not at the Krusty Krab, so yeah, who's running the show? So, who cooks the Krabby Patties when SpongeBob isn't there? Ghosts. Oh, ghosts. Okay, phone. Okay, I get it. We already know that ghosts exist in the SpongeBob universe. I'm just like rediscovering all these like buried childhood memories of this show and just how strange it really was. We know that ghosts exist, so it stands to reason that ghosts of former fry cooks pick up shifts at the Krusty Krab every now and then. I mean, that's a little far-fetched. You don't ever see any ghosts, so that one's a little weird. I don't know if I would go with that one 100%. It is creepy though, and it does remind you that ghosts exist in this universe, which is creepy. This next one suggests that SpongeBob and his friends actually represent the 7 deadly sins. Now, when I first read that, I was like, I can see a couple, but beyond that, I would like to hear the case that they're about to make. On the surface, SpongeBob SquarePants is a pretty innocent show. Yeah, but we're quickly realizing that's not the case and we're all misremembering. But what if these wacky, colorful characters represent the darkest depths of the human soul? Each of the 7 most prominent characters represent one of the 7 deadly sins. In Christianity, these 7 cardinal sins are directly responsible for all forms of evil in the world. That's a lot of responsibility to put into symbolism of childhood or like of child TV characters. Patrick, who once won an award for doing nothing longer than anybody else, represents sloth. That's the one I totally get that one. Squidward, who's constantly trying to sabotage SpongeBob's fun, is wrath. I wouldn't really say wrath. That's a very strong emotion, so that one's a little weak in my opinion. Mr. Krabs, with his love of money, is greed. 100% can definitely see that. Through and through, that's his whole character summed up into one word. Plankton, obsessed with stealing away Mr. Krabs' success, is envy. That one makes a lot of sense. I mean, is he motivated by anything other than that? Gary the snail, who devours food by the metric ton, is gluttony. See, I could also see Patrick being gluttony. Sandy, who feels Texas is superior to all, is pride. You know, whenever I think about SpongeBob, I always do forget about Sandy. And I don't know why, because like when I think of individual episodes, the episodes with her in it stand out the most, like the hibernating one, and then like the one where they're like karate chopping, like all like they're having like a karate chopping contest, and then the one where SpongeBob's like, water, I don't need it, I don't need it, like that one. Again, with these words, why am I like mimicking the things that he says? SpongeBob, who has an excessive unhealthy love for all people, is lust. That one seems like a little stretch. He even sees Squidward, who despises him, as a close friend. That's just optimism and like being friendly. So yeah, there's a couple there that are a little weak, but I could see like the inspiration, and that's dark and twisted if that was the inspiration behind kids show characters. Like, I get that even when things are designed and marketed towards kids, people of all ages can enjoy these things, right? A lot of people like SpongeBob a lot more later in life than they did when they first watched it. But at the end of the day, these were shows still created for kids in mind. They were marketed towards young kids. So for like these creepy things to possibly be behind like these characters' creation is incredibly creepy and dark and weird. But you know, that's why these fan theories are so fun to read. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I hope some of these really just mess with your brain a little bit, because they certainly did mine. Mr. Krabs is a cannibal, and that's disgusting. If you guys did like today's video, please give it a big thumbs up. It really helps out this video and this channel and the Rad fam. You guys are so awesome. And as always, I love making videos based off your guys' suggestions. So if you have any suggestions for fan theories you want us to explore, leave them down in the comments below, and it might be made into a video. So until next time, keep it radness, and I'll see you guys real soon. Bye!